Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us in our 2024 complimentary webinar series covering the FAR, or Federal Acquisition Regulations. We are coming to you live today from Washington, D.C., and we're glad you all could make it. Okay, so a bit about this series. As usual, all of our webinars are complimentary and recorded. The FAR has 52 total parts, and we will run through them sequentially each week on Wednesdays and Fridays at noon Eastern Time. The recordings and PowerPoints will be posted within 24 hours of the webinar ending. You can find the recordings on our YouTube channel simply by subscribing to it using the link you see on the screen. There is no cost. You can find the PowerPoint on the SlideShare site using your LinkedIn credentials to log in. Again, there is no cost. We also offer sponsorship opportunities. If you are interested, please send us an email to hello@jenniferschaus.com. And now for how to sign up to the series. Unfortunately, there's no bulk registration, so you must register individually for each webinar. If you go to the Jennifer Schaus website, navigate to the section called the FAR, and you'll find the individual registration links. Also, the recording links will be posted here upon the completion of each webinar. Please note that we did cover the FAR in 2020, so if you're eager to get a jump start, please find these historical recordings on our site. Navigate to the Webinars tab and scroll down to the section the FAR 2020. Because it has been 4 years, many of the regulations have changed and been updated, so please use this as a reference tool only. Okay, and a bit about us. We work with established federal contractors worldwide, helping them to navigate the market. Our services range from market analysis reports to contract vehicles and compliance. Some of the contract vehicles we support are listed here on your screen. For more information, please visit our website. Okay, those are our services for federal contractors, but we also provide marketing and advertising services for organizations who are selling to federal contractors. We can add the extra muscle to your marketing efforts via our newsletter ads and webinar sponsorship to in-person events. Please email us and ask for our media kit. We are currently offering a discounted offer in our newsletter, which reaches over 34,000 subscribers. If you want to place an order or have any questions, please send us an email to hello@jenniferschaus.com. As you know, congressional hearings on both the House of Representatives and on the Senate side are open to the public unless otherwise stated. We have a list here of the upcoming schedule, including the date, time, building, and room numbers. Most meetings take place in the Dirksen, Rayburn, or Cannon buildings. If you are selling to any of these departments or agencies, attending the hearings can be a great way to gather information, understand the process, and also network with influencers. Please join us for our Summer Shorts webinar series this August. We will be hosting 30-minute GovCon webinars with industry leaders. The series runs every day for 2 weeks, starting on Monday, August 12th, and ending on Friday, August 23rd. The webinars will begin at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, and as usual, they are free to join. Both the registration and the recording links can be found on our website under the tab Webinars. Here is our lineup for week 1. These leading ladies in the federal sector will cover various topics, including contract finance, contract management, capture, pricing, and compliance. And in week 2, we will look at capability statements, BD, marketing, subcontracting, and M&A. Please join us for these upcoming complimentary webinars with various Apex accelerators. Jennifer will be covering GSA schedules as well as federal marketing for our local Apex accelerator in Virginia. These are complimentary and online webinars. She will also be teaching a class for the Maryland Apex Accelerator on GSA schedules in December. She will also be speaking for webinars with the East Michigan Apex Accelerator. She will be covering GSA schedules, federal marketing, so please look for these dates in November and December. Our webinars are complimentary thanks to our longtime and generous corporate and in-kind sponsors. Please allow me to introduce them. We would like to thank our friends at GovEvents, the premier platform for posting events related to government and government contracting. You can find all of our webinars and our events at govevents.com, as well as recordings from our past 600+ webinars. We also want to thank Tom Johnson and his team at setasidealert.com, the go-to publication for contracting opportunities for small, women-owned, veteran-owned, HubZone, and 8A firms. Visit setasidealert.com for more information. The Fairfax Economic Development Authority has an online calendar of events and webinars. We want to thank them for posting our events and webinars on their calendar. The Virginia Apex Accelerator at George Mason University offers free one-on-one counseling to established government contracting firms in Virginia on federal, state, and local procurement topics. If you're interested in learning more, please use the links provided to explore their services, review homework recommendations, register for live training, and find useful links to agencies and other self-directed learning. One-on-one counseling is limited to eligible client companies. Appointment requests are handled in the order they were received and based on counselor availability due to high demand. Online resources and group trainings are free with no restriction on business location. Join the Greater Reston Chamber of Commerce's monthly GovCon Council to network with peers. learn about upcoming events and opportunities, and help to shape future programming. The meetings take place the fourth Tuesday of each month at 8:30 a.m. at the Greater Reston Chamber of Commerce. The next meeting will be on August 27th. Do you want help winning government contracts? Bitsby can help. Users can find contract opportunities from federal, state, and local government. Additionally, you can search for teaming partners, incumbent point of contact, expiring contracts, compliance matrices, and proposal templates. Create your login today at bitspeed.com. Bitspeed is an official partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration's E2G Empower to Grow program. Events are the ultimate engagement channel to bring government and industry together. 68% of government personnel that they attend more than one event each year. The Federal Business Council, or FBC, has worked with government and industry for 45 plus years to create gatherings where ideas are shared and to help government achieve its goals. This includes agency, industry days, cybersecurity symposiums, technology expos, and offsite meetings. FBC provides full lifecycle meeting planning and event management. With over 5,000 meetings under their belt, FBC has the experience, systems, and personnel to make your next event exceptional. Learn more at fbcinc.com. Now, last but not least, please check out our friends over at GovBrew. GovBrew is the most read GovCon newsletter, keeping thousands of GovCon professionals in the loop with news, updates, and opportunities in the federal contracting market, all in a fun and accessible email that only takes 5 minutes to read, and it's 100% free to join. It goes out every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m., and it's filled with great content, event postings, webinars, and more. We encourage you to sign up at govbrew.co, or you can use the QR code you see on the screen. And now the reason we're here today is to cover FAR Part 51. Let's meet today's speaker. Please welcome Holly Roth to the webinar. We are glad to have you with us today and are excited to hear your presentation. I'll put myself on mute and turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Emma, and I'm delighted to be here today on a topic that has often many people confused and sometimes can be harmful for federal supply schedule contractors who think that somebody is authorized, another contractor is authorized to buy from them. But when they have a contractor assistance visit and one of those orders is pulled and they don't happen to have the government authorization along with the purchase order from the government contractor, they get dinged and that order gets deemed to be a commercial order, not a sale to the federal government. Next slide, please. So there's, just to kind of talk about it, what are government sources? There are two categories. The first category are supply sources. And they include the Committee for Purchase from people who are blind or severely disabled, the DLA, the GSA that I just mentioned, the VA, and if the product or service is not available from any of the above, the AbilityOne central nonprofit agencies. Next slide, please. The other government source is the Interagency Fleet Management System, or IFMS, vehicles and related services. These include fuel and lubricants, vehicle inspection, maintenance and repair, vehicle storage, and commercially rented vehicles for short-term use, and could include a complete rebuilding of major components of contractor-owned or leased equipment, but, and there's always a but, only if approved by the contracting officer in each instance. Next slide, please. So who can be authorized, and this is another area of confusion, who can be authorized to use government supply sources? These are contractors with government cost reimbursement contracts. I can't say that enough, cost reimbursement contracts. Now, they allow for other types of negotiated contracts when the agency determines that a substantial dollar value of the contractor's contracts are what? Are of a cost reimbursement nature. And then you can include a contract under 41 USC Chapter 85, Committee for Purchase from people who are blind or severely disabled, if the nonprofit agency requesting use of the supplies and services is providing a commodity or service to the federal government and the supplies or services received are directly used in making or providing a commodity or service approved by the Committee for Purchase from people who are blind or severely disabled to the federal government. Next slide, please. Now, I know I said cost reimbursable, and I know you're focusing on the fixed price language here, but that is a very narrow exception. It's contractors with fixed price government contracts that what? Require protection of security classified information, and they may acquire security equipment through GSA sources. Again, let me go back to the very beginning. It requires authorization. And also, subcontractors have the ability to use government supply sources, but those authorizations come through from the government to the prime contractor with the approval of the contractor can be given to subcontractors. Next slide, please. Moving on to IFMS vehicles and services. Again, who can be authorized to use them? Cost reimbursement contractors and their cost reimbursement subcontractors for official purposes only, unless otherwise specifically approved by the administrator of the GSA at the request of the agency involved. Next slide, please. So the question is, what form, what am I looking for? What does an authorization look like? And it's a written document from the contracting officer to the contractor that cites the contract number that the products are going to be used on, product services going to be used on, or specifies any limitation on the authority, including its duration and any other pertinent information, and instructs the contractor to comply with the applicable policies and procedures. Next slide, please. So contractors ordering from the FSS have to follow the terms of the applicable schedule and the authorization, and include with each order, right? So you, government contractor, you got that authorization. When you place an order with an FSS contractor, you have to provide a copy of the authorization, unless you already furnished it, to the FSS contractor. And you also have to contain this statement in your order. This order is placed under written authorization from contracting officer agency, dated blah blah. In the event of any inconsistency between the terms and conditions of the order and those of your FSS contract, the latter will govern. So your purchase order, if it conflicts with that FSS contract, your purchase order terms and conditions go to the FSS contract terms and conditions. Next slide, please. And then contractors ordering from government sources for supply stock must comply with the requirements of the contracting officer's authorization. And I can't say contracting officer's authorization enough, using FedStrip or MILSTRIP procedures as appropriate. Use only the government activity address code obtained by the contracting officer in accordance with 51102E, along with the contractor's assigned access code when ordering from GSA customer supply centers. And they can only order those items that are required in the performance of their contracts. Next slide, please. So you're a government contractor, you've been authorized to use IFMS services. How do you get them? You send a written request in writing to the appropriate GSA Regional Federal Supply Service Bureau, attention, regional fleet manager. If you need more than 5 vehicles, you have to send your request to the GSA FBF in Washington, D.C., and not to the regional offices. Next slide, please. Each request shall include the following. And again, I'm going to harp on this. 2 copies of the agency authorization to obtain vehicles and related services from GSA. The number of vehicles and related services required in the period of use. A list of your employees who are authorized to request vehicles and related services. A listing of the make, model, and serial numbers of contractor-owned or leased equipment authorized to be serviced, and billing instructions and address. If you are requesting an unusual number of vehicles, you should do so. The regulations recommend that you should do so as far in advance as possible to facilitate their availability. Next slide, please. And if you're authorized to use IFMS vehicles and services, you must comply with the requirements of 41 CFR 101-39, Interagency Fleet Management Systems, and the operator's packet that is furnished with each vehicle. Next slide, please. All right, contracting clauses. I'm harping on this. Just because you have a clause in your contract does not mean you are authorized. Written authorization is required. Next slide, please. So if you're authorized to use government supply sources, that your contract will contain FAR 52-251-1. But note, it's the contracting officer may issue the contractor an authorization. This clause is not an authorization for you to call up your favorite FSS contractor and say, hey, I've been authorized. You need to get it from your contracting officer, and then when you're ordering from the FSS contractor, you provide them with a copy of that authorization. Next slide, please. Similarly, if you're looking to, use the government's interagency fleet management system vehicles and related services, you will find FAR Clause 52-251-2 in your contract. But it doesn't authorize you to do it unless you obtain an authorization from your contracting officer to obtain the vehicles and related services. Next slide, please. Best practices. Contractors, make sure you have the written authorization from your contracting officer. For FSS contractor holders, require a copy of the contracting officer's written authorization prior to taking an order against your FSS contract from another government contractor. And finally, follow the applicable rules, regulations, and terms and conditions. Thank you. Next slide, please. If you have any questions, I'd be delighted to, talk to you more about this topic or others. It's always been an interesting topic, and I've had lots of clients who are federal supply schedule contract holders who've been frustrated by how other contractors handle it. So happy to help you anytime. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Holly, for such a great presentation, and thanks to everyone for joining us today. As mentioned, you can always catch the recording on our YouTube channel within 24 hours, and you'll find over 700 webinars on government contracting there. That's it for today. Thank you, Holly, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Emma.